The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back to another episode of HBCU. It's your boy Pooh Bell. Got my man Aunt Petty Murphy in the building. What's good with you, my boy?
What's happening with you, dog?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. Hey, man. Went to had an eye exam today. Eyes. The lady said, "How you feeling?" She walked in the optometrist. She said, "How you feeling?" I said, "Half blind." She said,
"Your eyes what?"
She said, "How you feeling?" I said, "Half blind." She looked at me. Said, "Oh, because the eyes dilate." I said, "Yes, I can't see a thing."
Oh, they die. Oh yeah, bro. I hate that, dog.
Man, hey, then the lady put the drops in my. She said, "I got to put two drops in each eye." I said, "Okay." She put that first drop. I said, "Oh,
kind of burned on.
Oh man, that thing was. She was like, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, if you've got allergies or dry eyes, it's going to get to you." I was in there. I was like, "Jesus,
hey,
help me!"
One time, I got my eyes dilated for my glaucoma checkup or whatever,
Gotcha.
and the woman forgot to give me some sunglasses, dog. The little shade. Man, I tried to walk out that doctor's. I turned right back around so fast. Now, like, nah, bro, I can't even open the door. Bro, it's bad, bro. I hate getting my eyes dilated. That's probably why I ain't been back to the eye doctor. I need to make a checkup, but
yeah, man. Yeah, so when I left the eye doctor today, they gave me a stick and a dog. So they'll let you know where I sit. And it's
bro, something wrong with you, man.
Oh man. But yeah, man, we made it through though. Made it through. And it was like I said, it was a tough one, but we made it through, man. But we got a good show in store tonight, man. Shout out to HBCU Nightly, man.
Yes,
I guess we on par for everybody's mindset. They talked about similar situation to what we, what we're gonna talk about tonight. Realignment, conference realignment, football. Well, it was a great conversation last night, HBCU Nightly. If you hadn't had a chance, go check it out. Also, man, we got we got special guests coming in with us, man.
Yeah.
May have two.
Superstar.
May have two. I don't know. I know one is doing his craft. So, but y'all know what it is, man. We gotta give a quick shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to betonline.ag. We'll be back in 1 minute. BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your sports information, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds, lines, and player injury reports for this year's NBA and NHL playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters. This season, we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. We have everything from NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL to golf, tennis, UFC, and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games that you can play right from your home. Head on over to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Man, I ain't even mark the time. But Man, before we get started with the conversation at hand, man, as always, man, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Don't forget, subscribe, like, share. P.S. Them super chats are open. Chuck said his daddy was dark shades out of getting his eyes done.
Got to, man. You got to.
I mine was in the car. I got mine. Yeah. Anyway, man, Tennessee Titans. I started becoming a bit of a fan. Mike
Like Derrick
Vrabel.
Henry or something?
No. Mike Vrabel. He is giving former North Carolina A&T coach Terrell Adams an opportunity to be a head coach. In their preseason game against the Bears, he's basically said he's going to let him get that experience. Coaching the team, kind of stand back and you know what I'm saying, give him the keys to the to the ship, man. So shout out to Mike Vrabel for doing that. He must see something in Coach Williams to give him that opportunity.
Coach Williams, if I'm not mistaken, he's already the associate head coach. So you know that right there, just that having that title shows the capability he has of leading the team. But we all know how the NFL practices are when it comes to hiring minorities. So the fact that Vrabel is giving him this opportunity, even though it is just one game, just gives him
even being a preseason game, this still big.
Yeah, but just gives him the chance to kind of audition for other jobs out there that may come available. Just to, you know, maybe he might not get the job, but at least put him in some interviews that he might not have gotten a chance to if it wasn't for this situation. So I'm not saying he's going to get a job because of this, but this at least gives him the opportunity to showcase what he can do when given the opportunity.
Yes, completely agree. As you said, we talk about this all the time. We've been very critical of the NFL's hiring practice, especially when you see leagues like the USFL and the XFL who have only 8 teams, and half the league is you know saying has black head coaches. Or if you look at NFL and not NFL, NBA, and half the coaches are either black or a person of color. That stuff matters. So big.
And
Jay White said,
who's to say Vrabel's gonna be the
for that dog whistle? I don't know.
That's a dog and something.
I think it said dog whistle. I don't know. What's a dog whistle, Jay White? Let him know. But Dave said it's a big deal. Coach at A&T while he was a student. Vrabel is an ally.
Yeah.
So.
But Vrabel might not be that much longer anyway.
Oh, he said go Dogs.
Yeah, I about to say I think she's just saying that for the Bulldogs, if I'm not mistaken.
Go Dog, dog.
But Vrabel might not be there too much longer anyway. Tennessee. So I mean, this could be an opportunity to where he is an interim for a part of the season, or gets opportunity to lead the team in the future. So she said that's a newspaper.
Oh,
so I mean, this could be more of a.
Hey, my bad. I thought that was a whistle. I was like, dog whistle. What that is? Listen, I told y'all I got my eyes checked today.
But
speaking of dogs, where my dog at? Anyway, go ahead.
But no, I'm not saying he's gonna get fired during the season, though, man. I'm just saying this could be a possibility for him to audition for the franchise.
That's true. That's true. She said Conrad Maynard for president. I'm not listening. But you know what? I gotta get that. I gotta post that too. Coach Maynard interview from Media Days.
Yeah,
got to.
Dog right there, man.
Yeah. Willie Bolden says CVL 93 tuning in from Rockwall. What's good, man?
Appreciate you for tuning in, man.
Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, that's that. Also, man, let me see. Let me pull this up because there was something that I found that I really like. Where is the one I was looking at. It's on here. But man, speaking of football and everything, Benedict, SIAC defending champions, their game against Fort Valley State, it's not going to be on prime time. That game has been moved to ESPN2. Let me get the date.
Travis got you, dog.
October 12th at 7:30. What Travis said? Hold on.
Travis got you, dog.
Travis said he got photographic evidence of the food. They're from Media Day. I'm not saying anything, but it looks like the person on the left side on the screen. Oh man, listen, I can't eat that much. I can eat what I want to eat.
I heard you told that pulled pork up though.
That
I ain't
pulled
saying
pork was, boy, listen, that pull. Don't even get me started on that pull. But Travis know about that pulled pork. I said he stole the chicken. I ain't gonna say stole. I said he acquired most of the chicken. He said nah, but he tore that pulled pork up, and that pulled pork was fire. That pulled pork was on
that chicken was good too though.
Yeah. But my bad. Let me get back. October 12th, Thursday night, October 12th at 7:30 Eastern. Benedict, Fort Valley State at Charles W. Johnson Stadium, man. ESPN2.
It's good. Good exposure. Good good opportunity to get your school showcased, man. I understand it's on Thursday night, so you're probably going up against the NFL. But at the same time, though, there's some people who don't watch the NFL, and all they're looking for is college football. So this gives opportunity for you to, to get in front of those eyes and to kind of market your school a little bit on this network. And
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I got to choose between watching,
it's probably gonna be some sorry teams, bro.
If I got to choose between watching the Cleveland Browns and the Vegas Raiders in their colorway jerseys on a Thursday night and watching Benedict and then watching it on Amazon Prime, give me Benedict and Fort Valley State, man.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals versus the Rams or somebody like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm probably not even gonna be tuning in because, like you say, it's harder to. Everybody don't got Amazon Prime. Everybody got ESPN too.
Dumps the juice. That's what that is. Just pure dumps the juice. I'm still trying to find it, man. I'm gonna go ahead and start this out. There have been 6 players, HBCU players, named to the Walton Payton and Buck Buchanan watch list. I'm trying to find the article. I saw this on HBCU game day where they had the list, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to find that list again.
Yeah, Travis had a good comment. He said, at the same time, college football is college football. ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN Plus is a great opportunity to showcase your institution, especially on a Thursday night. Exactly,
Big
man.
facts.
Like, not much competition from other college football games. And like you said, with the NFL being hard to find, people not wanting to watch it, and people just wanting college football, it's a great opportunity for these 2 schools. And a lot of people haven't heard of these 2 schools, so it gives you a chance to kind of brand yourself to a new market.
Yeah.
Ooh, Broncos Chiefs. Ooh. Well, if Denver is 0-4 or 1-4 by that time, it might be a little different story for that game. As of now, it does look like an interesting game though on the NFL.
People
side.
are tuning in because it's the Chiefs, but
that's true.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really.
But yeah, you said how many players?
There's 6 HBCU players named to the Walter Payton and Buck Buchanan watch list, and I'm trying to find the article and I can't freaking find it. Hold on, let's do this. I can't even find it. I do know Davis Richard was on that list. Was one
Davis Richard, Jarvian Howard from Alcorn.
There you go. That's on the Walter Payton.
And then on the Buck Buchanan, Khalil Baker from North Carolina Central, Colton Adams, Bubba from Alabama State, Patrick Godbolt from South Carolina State, and Sunday Anderson from Grambling.
All right. You said who from Alabama State on there?
Bubba.
Do I need to say it? Travis, say it for me. You already know. I ain't.
Will Tonka be cheating?
There you go. I ain't even gotta say it. We know what it is, but hey, he in there. That's what I'm talking about.
But what's interesting is both he and the actual preseason defensive player of the year made it. So
Sonny out, yeah.
So I think we need to. I understand that where people are coming from feeling like Bubba got snubbed, but at the same time, I feel like Sunday has kind of proven himself, and as we see by being named to the preseason watch list and being named to the preseason defensive player of the year for the SWAC. I feel like it ain't like it's that big of a
it's not a super. It's not like it's not like it's somebody that's undeserving. I get what
exactly.
Yeah. I definitely agree. I think a lot of people just because of the great play, the stat leading and everything. It's just a lot of people are when they look at it, they just kind of like, man.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, let's not make it seem like Sunday out of some slouch.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. So I was looking and stuff, and we were preparing. I started noticing basketball. A lot of people
around the corner.
Several schools have already released basketball schedules and started putting out. It's coming.
They're already playing. A lot of them
because in the Dominican Republic and
traveling overseas and stuff.
So it's gonna be, man. We ain't even got in football yet, and I'm like,
it's how it be, man. Never stop. Once you hit August, bro, it's like full swing for multiple sports until May.
So it did come out, man. Urban Edge Network and the SWAC, the lawsuit that they have, that Urban Edge has against the SWAC, and also I think it's Weber Digital. I think that's the name of it. I can't remember. It's heading to arbitration. Said, but it's basically at a stalemate. It's going to head to arbitration. So lawyers are trying to get things together.
Some lawyers
20,
now, so.
20. I think they said arbitration in like August of 2024.
Yeah, man. You know when lawyers get involved, nothing ever moves fast.
Yeah, I mean billable hours. But you know how that thing go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Off season almost non-existent for basketball.
So
we say that football.
I mean, it's the same, but we always talk about it in football, but we never talk about it in basketball.
That's true. I think
like in football, we're not just that, but in football, in spring, we got a whole spring game where we go watch them play. You know what I'm saying? So we make more out of it than we do in basketball. But basketball, they got off-season practices and scrimmages and all that too. We just don't make a big deal out of it.
That's true. Well, all right, man. We got a special guest. Gotta bring him up.
Superstar.
Yeah. You hear my dog? No, just playing. Stop talking. But hey, let's go ahead and bring up, man. Welcome him back to HBCU Hour. Our good friend, the app. I hit the wrong thing. Here we go. Our good friend, the Abby winner, sports director for Fox 54 up here in Huntsville, Alabama. Our good man, Mo Carter. Welcome back, Mo. How you doing?
What's going on, fellas? It's always a pleasure. How y'all doing?
We good, Mo. Good. Yeah, how you doing tonight, man? I know you ripping
busy
the run.
Night as usual, huh?
Yeah, busy night. And being a Fox affiliate, we've got World Cup soccer on right now, so I'm just waiting for this to really wrap up so I can actually go do the other part of my job. Yeah. But in the meantime, it gives me enough time to spend some time with you guys this evening and talk all things HBCU athletics.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mo, before we get started, let me ask you
what's
this.
up.
with soccer World Cup. How did you feel about the women's team and the early exit as it was?
I mean, clearly with them being two-time defending World Cup champs, it's very disappointing to see them lose that early. I think in the history of them participating is the earliest exit they've ever had, on the World Cup level. So it was definitely disappointing. I mean, clearly I had some ideas that this team may not either be as focused as the previous ones or maybe just not as good as the previous ones, especially since, they win the first game and then you go into, you go into ties for the next two games or whatever. You're kind of like, there's some causes of concern at this point. And then, they faced their last opponent who basically came in and said, we're not afraid of you guys, forced them to go to PKs and end up losing on PKs. So tough exit, tough situation for Team USA women, who had been a dominant powerhouse with, the World Cup standings over the last couple of instances. But, early exit. And now, because of that, the folks at the front office for Team USA with women's soccer, they got to regroup and figure out how can this not happen the next time you go around.
Yeah. Man. I think I saw the writing on the wall because I was tweeting about it when they played. Who was their first game? It wasn't
Vietnam.
Was it Vietnam? Yeah, Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, Vietnam is physical, and it was like they were getting hit, and it was like USA was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Ow,
But
she's hitting me, and it was like Vietnam was like, okay, let's go. And if Vietnam could have strung a few things together or been a little bit more talented, they probably could have knocked them, put some scores up too. But
man, the thing about it is the women's national team was trying to be in two different eras at the same time. You had the Rapinos, the Julie Ertzes, you had those older players, but you had the young, Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith. You had the younger generation at the same time, and it was like almost a power struggle in between the two. Like, do you go with the older players? Do you go with the younger players? And I don't think they ever had the chemistry that needed as a team to play and to win in the tournament. It's hard to win in the World Cup, man. So I don't think they had the chemistry as a team, the team dynamic needed to string together those wins, especially whenever they faced adversity. When they faced adversity, it seemed like the younger players tried to do too much, and the older players kind of let them do it. And so they, and it never really was a winning dynamic.
No, I totally agree with you on that one, and I really do feel like the chemistry was definitely off, and the winning dynamic didn't kind of really have much of a parallel between the older and the younger. I can definitely get with you on that. Now, with that being said, I think the younger players who were tasting the experience for the first time are now like going to be hungry and be like, okay, we can't take these early exits anymore or whatever. Now we know what the pressure is in that situation. But also you got to remember this too, let's be frank. The United States really just started getting good in soccer on the women's team in the last, 20 years, 25 years or whatever. Soccer's, one of those global sports or whatever.
Right.
We're actually playing catch up to that. As in Team USA, have been playing catch up or whatever. And eventually, it came to fruition. Now, I think, who knows? They might have got the big head a little bit, might have just overlooked some people. And now you just got to regroup with that. So it'll be interesting just to see. But I'll say this too, working in TV, I hate that Team USA lost early because, my true soccer fans are now going to be tuning into some of these games or whatever compared to a built-in audience you would have had because of the home country.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Good point.
Hey, I'll get Mo. You got, Travis said, Mo Carter is the man. And oh Lord. Jamon said, Mo Carter, y'all had a chance for this season. We see how Alabama rock.
Oh, man. Well, appreciate you, Travis. For those that don't know, Travis was an SID at Troy, Alabama State, and Tuskegee all during my years here in Alabama. So, we've been connected for quite some time. As far as the chairs comment, I'm just going to leave that alone. Y'all know what's going on. Just with that. And clearly, they made the arrest and people turned themselves in or whatever. I'm still interested to see what's going to happen with the dude that actually swung the chair, because if you didn't watch the press conference, they said his name and they want him to come back to visit Montgomery Police Department.
I think they want him for training. They'll show them how to swing. Anyway,
maybe no telling. So got to keep an eye out on that one or whatever. But as far as what do you? No, I'm not saying I got chairs ready or anything or whatever. The worst thing
we know y'all got them folding chairs in the van.
Look, the worst thing I saw though, I saw somebody say maybe Eddie Robinson should have some chairs on the sidelines, and how you have your turnover chains. You have the turnover chair. Now what you do with it?
Yeah, that's a good idea though.
That is.
Now what you do with it, I don't know. But I mean, I've known Coach Eddie for a while. Don't think he's gonna be the type that would even kind of go with that.
He don't need the chair. He just got the stiff arm.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's. But man, Mo, let's get get started. Conference realignment. So the writing's kind of been on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We seen it coming, and then all of a sudden, it hit the fan. We saw basically the Pac-12 implode. Because it went from conferences picking off the best of group of 5 teams to now, you know what? Let me, I'm just gonna take the best of your conference. As a whole, what do you think about the shakeup? As before we even get to the FCS level in the FBS, what do you think about the whole shakeup?
Well, one thing that really threw me off, Pooh, was the fact that how quickly it happened. That's what really threw me off. I mean, clearly we knew about the UCLA and USC thing. I'd heard rumors about Colorado, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they want to go. Now this team wants to go. Now this team wants to go. And you're kind of like, whoa. Then Florida State says they might not be in the ACC for much longer if money has something to do with it. My big question is, where the heck are they going to go? Because they had their chance to go to the SEC back in the early 1990s, and that didn't work out or whatever. And go Google it for anyone that does not know what I'm talking about. And also, they're not a big TV market either. So that's another thing you have to kind of just think about in that, in that sense. So I'm just surprised how quickly things have really, really started to go for really the demolishing of the Pac-12. It really, really is. And then another question I do have too is how does the Rose Bowl really
bingo? That was my question.
Play into this as well, because clearly Rose Bowl traditionally Pac-12 against the Big Ten. Big Ten is going to be strong as ever, but now the Big Ten is going to have some former Pac-12 teams, and I just don't really know how they play off into this. Remember, the Pac-12, well, more so the Rose Bowl was the last big-time bowl game to sign off on the playoff expansion. Who knew this was going to be ramifications following that with that? So I clearly don't know what's going to happen with that. And of course, they got to kind of give us some more writing on the wall about how these 12-team playoffs are going to look and stuff too. But man, right now, I just do not know. For Stanford and Cal and a couple other teams, I just really, really don't know. I saw some model saying the Mountain West could possibly try to absorb them and make some things straight. I told somebody the other day, honestly, Stanford can probably go independent in football and maybe join the West Coast Conference for all other sports and be okay. But Cal, they're not in that position to really, really do that. So, man, I'm just going to say this. Get your popcorn ready because it ain't over yet.
I think Stanford and Cal are tied together. So this is just my opinion. I think they tied together, and I think Stanford is going bring Cal wherever they go. But the Mountain West Conference, Bleacher Report just sent me an alert 25 minutes ago that the Mountain West Conference is trying to get Oregon State and Washington State. So if they were able to pull them in with San Diego State, Boise State, and some of the teams they already have, I think that would put them in position as the best G5, kind of in that right in between the power and the G5, kind of as that fifth Power 5, I guess, in this sense, since the Pac-12 is dead. So
which is crazy to think,
my question is then you would have a Power 5 again with the Mountain West taking the Pac-12 spot. but you would only have a G4.
True. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because now that, for those that don't know, I'm a big historian. So it kind of makes me think back to like the mid 90s when you basically had the end of the Southwest Conference, but you had the beginning of the Big 12 Conference.
And the
So
SEC
I kind of
coming.
wonder if it would be something along those lines with that. And also, too, if that were to happen, do you still keep Mountain West as a group or whatever crew, or do they elevate to the new position of a P5?
Well,
That's something
with the 12-team playoff, I think that the other power conferences would prefer them to stay as a G5, because then if there's automatic qualifiers for the Power 5 conferences, there's more of their teams getting in now, because you take away the possibility of a Mountain West school getting some of those Power 5 automatic bids. So the Power 5s are going to want them to stay as G5s, but the G5s are going to want them to bump up, because you don't want an Oregon State or Washington State or someone from that conference getting the automatic G5 bid every year. So they're going to be in a limbo, and it's going to kind of be up to the other conferences, in my opinion, what happens to them.
Absolutely. You put it right there on the head right there, Ant-Man. Like that is a whole lot to think about. And also, on top of that, that's a whole lot of money to be worried about too. A lot of money, because at the end of the day, that's all what this is about. It's about money, man. It really, really is. I know people were saying, oh, UCLA and USC were crazy to go to the Big Ten. Yeah, travel's going to be ridiculous. But if I'm the Big Ten, who just signed this big old $1 billion deal with Prime and CBS, and also extended whatever else with Fox or whatever, I now get Los Angeles, a top 2 market. And, USC and UCLA are national brands across the board, no matter what sport you're talking about, no matter if it's football, basketball, baseball, softball, like those are
gymnastics.
Gymnastics, yep. So those are national brands in a top 2 market. Man, that money is going to look crazy for them when it comes with it, which I know Greg Sankey's probably sitting back and like, all right, now how can I figure out what to do for SEC?
But now you just added the Seattle market and the Portland market, which are both top 30 markets, and you can go right back to the drawing board with those same networks and like, hey, we need to redo this deal. You gave me $1 million last time. I need $1.2 million now.
True. Absolutely true, man. Absolutely true. But yeah, the college landscape with the whole realignment stuff, it's really about money, and it's really about television markets and, how do things fit. So yeah, so if Oregon State and Washington State potentially, maybe going to the Mountain West, that's not a bad move for the Mountain West either, because it fits the perfect footprint all in all from top to bottom in, a whole lot of sports, especially the Olympic sports as well. So
not just that, you keep your conference, and you don't have to worry about Oregon State and Washington State picking off Boise, Fresno, San Diego State, and then going and getting 3 other people from the American Conference and then forming their own conference. You keep your conference intact if you go pick up Oregon State and Washington State.
True. So yeah, it all can work itself out for what the future could look like, but clearly, man, the Pac-12, formerly the Pac-10, and formerly, I think it was like the Pacific Coast Conference at one point in time. Yeah, man, the writing is on the wall. I'm going to go ahead and just say, somebody call the Undertaker, man, because that funeral is going to be very, very soon for that conference.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised to see a class action lawsuit brought against Larry Scott. Way he handled that thing. But we talk about the overall picture of kind of what's happening. And it brings us to, I guess, kind of what we were thinking about or talking about now. How does this look affect HBCUs? Granted, it's a different level, but it's something, and I'm not even just talking about teams moving up and stuff. Something that it just really came to my mind. Now you have teams, Oregon State and who's the Oregon State and Washington State,
yeah,
maybe going to a lower level division. I mean lower level conference or whatever. How does that affect recruiting? Does that recruiting now shift some things?
For those two schools, yeah, it'll affect it. I'm sure.
You know
it
what I'm saying?
will.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, granted, HBCUs ain't necessarily always
Yeah,
on the
I
West
mean,
Coast,
how
but
many Pacific Northwesterners or HBCUs recruiting? I think you'll see a domino effect if there was, let's say, a Florida State and Clemson start going to the Big Ten, and you start seeing some of those kids from the Florida, Georgia area who are like, nah, I'm not trying to go play in the cold.
Mhm.
I think you'll see a trickle down effect then to where HBCUs could benefit greatly. But I don't think those two schools up there are really gonna have too much of a trickle down effect on it, unless it's like the Cali JUCO scene, or you know what I'm saying, or something along those lines. I could see it, but not necessarily high school recruits.
Yeah, I don't think the high school recruiting is really going to be impacted too much. As far as HBCUs in general, the only thing I really, really see, and you can kind of look at this as glass half empty, glass half full. I think by the latter part of the 2020s, we may really, really see less and less money games from what I'll call it the P5 still for right now until it eventually gets. I think you're going to see less and less of those money games there, and you're going to see potentially more halfway money games with more of the group or whatever teams when it comes to HBCUs all in all. Because like I know Coach Saban had mentioned this not long ago, saying that expansion was good, but then he was like, man, we were preparing our non-conference schedules through like 2030 something or whatever to face the likes of Wisconsin and Notre Dame and Ohio State, you know, all those. So now he's wondering, do we have to kill off some of these games because we're already playing, you know, they may be playing 9 conference games in the SEC coming up in the future or whatever. So, you know, if you kill off those, then clearly you got to find other replacements, and they're not going to replace those with, you know, SWAC, MEAC, you know, HBCU independent. Like they're not going to do that, whatever, because remember the playoff is going to be based on who you play. So clearly they're not going to be like, all right, yeah, you know, you played this team this week. Yeah, well, you may have struggled with them for a little bit. Committee may be like, okay, we'll hold that against you in that sense. So then honestly, I don't really think it impacts HBCUs too much, at least on the football level for sure. Basketball may have an impact because, of course, right now we know the SWAC has the ongoing deal with the Pac-12.
They did.
Yeah, I mean, and of course it was for this year, it was for last season, and for next season. And while, you know, it yielded some good results for the SWAC, clearly there's going to be some teams that aren't even existed in that conference for the future. So that's something that could be definitely impacted if they wanted to consider moving forward with that. But I think HBCUs would only see too many things besides what Ant just mentioned not too long ago, maybe with the recruiting aspect.
Yeah. And that kind of, I think that kind of answers some of this question from SWAT Fan 100. Question: what happened to the Pac-12 make you concerned for HBCUs? If so, what should we do?
All right, I'll tell you my concern. My concern is what happens if the ACC says, yeah, we want Stanford, we want Cal, we want SMU, and we want, I don't know, just South Alabama for something. I don't know. Well, and then those conferences start picking up schools. At what point does one of those conferences say, yeah, I want a FAMU, I want a North Carolina Central, you know what I'm saying? I want one of those. And then they start trying to come cherry pick from HBCU conferences to start filling their spots.
Well, if the conversations begin, then that's a move in the right direction for those teams or administrations.
For those teams, but what happens to those conferences?
Because
if I know it's not very necessarily likely, but let's say that Conference USA comes and they want A&T, they want North Carolina A&T, and they want North Carolina Central. What happens to the MEAC if they lose another team?
Could be a tough spot for the MEAC if they happen to lose a.
You see what I'm saying? That and it does. I don't think it's gonna be a whole bunch, but all it takes is them to take the right team or pick the right teams, and you can see a conference disappear.
No, you definitely could. You definitely could. So also now, and then it makes you wonder, what is the MEAC's plan moving forward beyond that? Like, can they find a way to maybe help, a team or two out of the CIAA, for example, to come on over? Because I mean, clearly by now, if you do not know, it takes a whole lot just to go from D2 to D1, starting with $1.8 million. You can pay it in increments. I did find that out. It's not an upfront fee. You can pay it in increments, but you still have to pay it. Also, you have to increase your scholarship limits for many sports. You have to make sure that you're still compliant to Title IX with a bunch of women's sports, and you also have to basically pay your coaches. Like, not a lot of volunteer coaches or anything. So, those are things that definitely would be of consideration if that were happen. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't really think about it truly into that aspect.
Infrastructure is another one.
Yeah, infrastructure is another one. You're right, because the NCAA still has to come down to your campus, make a visit, do this, do that. And then there's another thing I just found out, guys, and compliments to the University of North Alabama, UNA, out there in Florence. I did not know this. When they come down to, sure, it's usually an athletic move, but it's still academically based as well. They have to see during that time when you announced that you were going up or whatever, did your enrollment increase, or at least did your applications increase during that situation? That's something that they don't talk about a lot, but that is something that could cause a ripple effect as far as like if somebody can make that jump quick, or do they have to still take some time as well?
Yeah. I think one way to avoid or possibly avoid having a scenario where other conferences start trying to pick off HBCU teams is, all right, this is just my hypothetical. I haven't thought it out completely, but I just want to ask a couple questions.
Okay.
What conference does Notre Dame play football in?
They are an associate member of the Atlantic Coast Conference.
But they're independent technically.
They are independent. Yeah, the only year they were a ACC member was the COVID year. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, but they play their other sports in the ACC, basketball, baseball, etc. And then they play ice hockey in the Big Ten. Okay. What does Villanova play football in?
They're in the FCS, right?
FCS Patriot League, I want to say.
Correct. But the basketball and other sports are in the Big East.
Correct.
Johns Hopkins is a D3 in every sport except lacrosse, and they're in the Big Ten in that. Why couldn't, let's say,
John Hopkins had to get a waiver.
Yeah. But why couldn't you get 3 or 4 teams from the MEAC, 3 or 4 teams from the SWAC?
That's the whole MEAC. You get through.
Okay, to take the whole MEAC then, but I don't think every school in the MEAC is ready for this. But take a couple teams from the MEAC, take a couple teams from the SWAC who are ready. Take A&T, take Tennessee State, and just football move to a conference together.
Be like the United conference they just created.
UAC, yeah.
And then play football together there. And then the other conferences, whoever's left in the MEAC, whoever's left in the SWAC, can be an FCS conference together. And you could still have HBCU football stay HBCU football, but you would also not have to worry about teams coming in and picking off. But the teams who need to or who desire to move up to the FBS level have that opportunity.
Hey man, it's not a bad idea. I mean, clearly there's a few more logistics after
obviously
go with that. I'll say this: it's not crazy. I could see it potentially happening. The big thing that would, I guess, maybe put a halt to it will probably be when you have that meeting between your board of trustees for both conferences, which includes your presidents and your athletic directors. And it's almost like the big dogs walking in saying, all right, we dipping or whatever, but y'all have to approve us leaving.
But that's the thing. I would still be in the like if say let's just use Alabama A&M for example. Okay,
Mhm.
if they were to leave and join this unified conference, they would still be in the SWAC for every other sport.
Right.
But only football would bump up to that level. So you would still keep the conference intact in every other sport, but football would be the only one. It's similar to what Chip Kelly is similar to what he mentioned as an idea he threw out, saying that why don't all Power 5 schools just be independent in football and then keep the other conferences intact the way they are for all the other sports? It's very similar to what he suggested, except it's on the HBCU level. Keep the HBCU conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC, keep them intact for all other sports, but football, make them all independent and put them all in a conference together, FBS independent, or put them on a conference together at the FBS level and let them play FBS football.
Man, you might have to make a phone call to Birmingham and let somebody know about that, and then he can share that information with some other folks.
Chuck dropped in, and me Mike did as well. Said that they are in the CAA.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, that's my proposal to satisfy the desires of institutions who want to play FBS football while keeping our conferences intact for every other sport. Because I'm worried about you having a team who wants to jump up to the FBS level and they just leave the conference, or they take somebody with them and leave the conference.
Yeah, because you got some schools where while it's a huge rivalry, it's kind of like so with one, so with the other.
Mm-hmm.
You always have to just consider that. Not saying that if Alabama State does this, Alabama A&M is going to do this, but it's probably going to happen. Yeah. If Southern does something, I'm pretty sure Grambling is going to follow through. Definitely. I can't speak for the Mississippi schools because clearly I've seen there's a whole lot of separation between all them. But I wouldn't be surprised if like Texas Southern made one whatever. Prairie View may not be behind or vice versa. I mean, remember when the Southland was trying to court, two teams from out of the SWAC? Those are two Texas teams. Not like they said, oh, we're going to go after one without the other. So,
yeah.
Let me ask you this,
typically how it does go, though.
Let me ask y'all this. Do y'all think we're closer to seeing HBCU team move up to FBS, or are we closer to seeing an FCS school move to Division II?
If we do see a HBCU move up, I think it'll be Tennessee State. Probably be the first one, or it could be A&T. Just simply
That's
because
why I think it'll be A&T.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I just feel like Tennessee State is a little bit closer to moving up than A&T.
But what conference would they join?
That is,
that's a good question.
I think.
Conference USA would probably.
Conference USA. I think A&T would be a better fit for Conference USA because they're good in multiple sports.
Yeah, but then hey, here's the other thing. Sun Belt, I wouldn't count them out either.
I think the Sun Belt's finna come raid Conference USA. Honestly, I think that's where they're going next.
Yeah, because the American just came and got a few teams, so that caused the ripple effect to go here, caused the ripple effect to go there. So there's only so many,
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that I was looking at. Once you start these, you always got to reach somewhere and pull. If, say, for instance, saying, because as the title suggests, hypothetically speaking, if, say, the SWAC or MEAC moves up to, FBS, do we see, and I know, Mo, you actually just kind of touched on it about the trouble going from D2 to D1. Do we see a CIAA and the SIAC move up to Division I?
I think there's a lot of moving parts that would have to happen just for that to like even be considered, in my humble opinion. Because clearly I feel like there's a lot of CIAA or SIAC teams that have had the conversation about just even trying to go to FCS, like for football, for example. But I mean, look, they still haven't done it. Heck, we saw a Savannah State team go up and then came back down. So yeah, it's hard for me to like really say that because they have not done it right now. And if you had a situation where, let's say, you know, Dr. McClellan's playing down the line works and the SWAC elevates or whatever, just because you have a void on the FCS level, I can't see, you know, the CIAA or the SIAC coming around is like saying, you know, the same stuff when it comes to it. I mean, I think was it y'all that had the guy that was from the athletic director from Lane?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yeah, I tuned into that, and I mean, hearing some of the things he talked about, like with the financial troubles.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to say troubles. I'm gonna go ahead and just say the financial ordeals that they continue to have, you know, not only at that school, but really in that conference. And I mean, for him to say it's conference wide in different levels, I mean, just think about it in that sense. And we're also talking about they would have to add multiple sports. They would have to add multiple scholarships. I mean, just so many people just aren't prepared for that right now.
Yep. That I don't think we'll see an entire conference move up.
Yeah. Dr. McClellan talked about that last year too, about that you can't move.
Well, yeah, you not
right
only,
now.
I mean, not just that, but you had to create a new conference, and then everybody would have to join the new conference. But I just don't think either conference is ready. Is at the point to where the whole conference can move together. The whole conference is not on the same level. Either conference. You know what I'm saying? You can't compare every school in the conference to each other and say that just because one is ready that the others are ready. That's why I said if we were to do this, my little hypothetical proposal, if we were to do that, it wouldn't be everybody because not everybody is capable or able to do it. It would only have to be the select few that could do it.
Correct.
Yeah. Because I think about it and what Mo said, yeah, you know, hypothetically speaking, how it looks. I don't want to pick on because I actually like them, but you think about Mississippi Valley. They may not be ready, you know, from a, you know, saying, you know, UAPB. And although they've had success, you know, so I could look at, say, Alcorn and say, you know, say possibly may not be ready, you know, just simply because of the support, you know, that you're looking at, that you would need, you know, from fans, period, you know, because just because you go to FBS level doesn't mean that people are going to just randomly start showing up at your games.
And my question is, what happens if you go to the FBS level and you start losing? What happens to the schools? What happens to the schools who have, you know, 20,000 at every game, and then they go, you know, 3-8, 3-9 for, you know, 2 straight seasons? What happens that third year? Do they still have 20,000 or is it 12,000? So how sustainable is being at the FBS level? Because I mean, we could just be honest. There's games where we've been competitive, but how many HBCU teams are actually going out and consistently beating FBS opponents?
Not too many that aren't named North Carolina A&T.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, you'd have to. That's why if you did this conference, it would kind of help because you would be playing each other,
right?
You see what I'm saying? So nine of your games are against teams you would be playing anyway. And then you'd only have to go play 3 non-conference games, or you know, against UT Martins or you know whoever of the world who FCS, or you could go stay on the FBS level and play some Coastal Carolina type teams or something along them kind of lines to fill your non-conference. But if you just did it to where let's just say A&T, if A&T just left on their own, I don't know how successful they would be compared to if they were to join a conference like the one I was proposing.
Yeah. Hey, let's take a brief break to hear a word from our sponsors. And we are back.
Ooh, that's a Jamon. Jamon said you're gonna start off losing like most. You need your booster and NIL when that money start rolling. You really need that television money. That's the key word there, television money.
Yep, because
but
new
being at
TV
the
contracts happen every so many years. So,
but if you jump to the FBS level, you're more attractive to TV networks, so you would be able to bring in more money. Now that is where I think you would see a problem from other SWAC or MEAC schools who aren't jumping to the FBS level. Let's just say, like you mentioned, Mississippi Valley. Let's say they don't jump to the FBS level, but Jackson State does. Jackson State's football contract, they getting $2 million a year for that, but Mississippi Valley not getting nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually how do you level it out to where, you see what I'm saying?
That was actually my next question. We talk about moving, the challenges, the costs and stuff of moving up. What are the benefits of moving up? You know, as far as like you said, the television, you know, possible, you know, attraction for television
right there, bro. And that and if you're on the FBS level, you qualify for bowl games, so you could get bowl money for schools and conferences like your conference like that. But
more
that's the only really way to do it. Yeah. Well, I mean, recruiting too. But I mean,
recruiting is going to be huge.
Yeah. I was really thinking of like financial wise as the benefits, TV money and possibly making bowl games and getting bowl money for the school and the conference. But as far as for the program, yeah, recruiting, you'll be able to play more games on TV because you're FBS, so you'll get more, you know, more eyes on you, more marketing opportunities and things of that nature. And not just that, but the casual fan pays attention to FBS more than FCS, so you'll just become more relevant.
Correct. Correct, man. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Because, I mean, even if you go back the last 20, 25 years or whatever, you've seen a lot of FCS teams make that jump to the FBS level, and some have remained, you know, pretty good for the most part. I can think back to mid to late 90s when Marshall with Chad Pennington and Randy Moss were killing it on the back then the 1AA level, and then moved up to, you know, FBS the next season and made a bowl game. So, you know, and they've been pretty relevant, you know, through those years. Chad Pennington was somebody, you know, is doing well. And then, you know, right now you got Coach Huff, who's doing quite well with them. Matter of fact, for anyone that does not know, Coach Charles Huff is the only current active Division I FBS coach who played and graduated at an HBCU and is coaching on the FBS level. For those that
beat
do
Notre
not,
Dame last year.
and he beat Notre Dame last
they
year.
did.
Yep. So, but you know, he's got them rolling in a good way, in a good manner, as far as like, you know, what's happening, what's going on. I mean, I can think back to like when Boise was like, you know, 1AA. Heck, I remember when UCF was a 1AA team, and then eventually, you know, moved up or whatever. So like it can happen, but of course they've had to build the support. They've had to do this, and clearly football is not just the only thing they have to do well. You still have to do well in your other sports, as you know, as a whole in general, because one thing about TV money is that, yeah, football is a stronghold on TV money, but TV deals usually go beyond just football in general when you get to those levels as well. And the reason why I say that, think about this as we get ready for the NCAA tournament for basketball. Think about how many championship games are on literally in a 2-week span leading up to the, you know, to the NCAA tournament and selection Sunday. Like, you got like 2 weeks worth of championships or whatever. Some people win their championships, they're sitting at home for like a week and a half until selection Sunday. So you can never say that TV money is not a big situation if you're looking at, you know, that happening.
Not just that, but speaking of the NCAA tournament, a move to division, well, I guess if you leave the FCS level and kind of start, I know there's no divisions in basketball, but if
Mhm.
you were to be in a bigger conference, a more relevant conference, you probably see a lot less 16 seeds coming from these HBCU conferences as well. You know, if you look at the Sun Belt, if you look at Conference USA, the American, whatever, you know, whatever the MAC, they hardly ever have any 16 seeds coming out of those conferences, even for the AQs, the automatic qualifiers. Their AQs are going to be 13 seeds, 12 seeds, like you saw FIU this year. You know, they're going to be that kind of quality. It's not going to
Correct.
be any 16 seeds. That's going to be for the Summit League and the Horizon League and things of that nature. Where right now, that's where they view the MEAC and the SWAC. But if you were to be in a bigger power conference, possibly like merging the two or something of that nature, then you would possibly see you get higher seeds in the NCAA tournament as well.
And on top of that, man, I mean, you just need your quality of basketball to improve as well.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you
true.
need more out of conference victories early in the season. I mean,
Well,
clearly, we see a lot of HBCUs play money games, not just in football, but in basketball as well. So, I mean, if you could pick up a victory here or a victory there, and then you have at least, I don't know, maybe a quarter or close to half the teams that have a winning record, that says something for your conference as well when it comes to the overall improvement. And also, you guys keep in mind, Dr. McClellan is now at the head of the table for the NCAA tournament for this upcoming year, even though he would have to, quote unquote, recuse himself for certain things when it comes to the SWAC. But still, you got somebody that can kind of be like, oh, man, like he's right there speaking up for it. But overall, the quality from at least top to mid have to be sound.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're getting more money in football because you got a better football TV deal, do you have to play as many money games in basketball? Or can you schedule games that you're more likely to win, even though it's still good competition, but instead of you playing, you know, Texas, you're playing UTSA or you're playing North Texas. You see what I'm saying? In those games, which are still good team quality teams, or UT Arlington, or someone like you're playing still good quality teams, but they're more winnable games, which your RPI looks a lot better if you win a few of them games than if you're getting beat. So that TV money in football could end up helping you in basketball because you don't have to play as many of those money games. So it's all connected, it's all all intertwined together. But the thing about it is you really don't know what all you're going to benefit from until you get there.
Agreed.
So I got a question for you, because we've been talking about realignment, but we've been saying, you know, realign and SWAC move up or MEAC move up. Let me ask you this. Let's just say they stay where they at, but maybe they can pull D2 schools up and make conference or you know, some super conference of their own. If you're the MEAC and you can pick, because what they at 6 teams now, and you can pick 4 teams to put in your conference, who would you grab?
Well, they had 6 teams for football.
Yeah,
right?
well, six for football. Yeah.
So we adding 4.
Yeah, adding 4 more.
Benedict is the obvious choice.
Benedict is one. Yeah, that's one of mine too.
That's the obvious choice.
I would say Virginia State.
That's a good one. If you're gonna add them, then you gotta add Virginia Union.
Okay.
Then I'd probably say Albany. Or Fort
I was
Valley.
thinking Albany. I was thinking Albany too, because you know, ever since Albany had that merger with, I think it's Barton or Darton or whatever, man, their enrollment's like beyond 6,000 now, which is almost better than a whole lot of SWAC schools.
Yeah.
So I would South Carolina. I mean, Benedict was one of mine. I would add, if I'm the MEAC, Benedict, Morehouse. I do. Who else did I have? God, I can't even think. I have to come back to the third school, but the fourth school was Lincoln in PA. Just to kind of give you a new market, and then give you a team kind of close to, well, I guess you say closer to Delaware.
Yeah,
That's
the only
But you far away from Morehouse though.
Yeah, I know.
You're pretty
I know.
far away, bro.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I said Morehouse was, you know what I'm saying, Atlanta to the Carolinas.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but you got to go from Atlanta to.
It's an international airport. They good. Nah, but
it's the cost though.
I know, man.
Yeah, it's
but I was just, you know what I'm saying. We hypothetically speaking, man.
No, it is definitely hypothetical. But don't forget, I know you're talking hypothetics, but also you mentioned Morehouse. You got to figure out how you gonna do something with no women's sports on the other side of stuff.
That's true. God dang.
Yeah, you know that's
that's my question. Do they join with with Spelman to? Since they,
I don't think you can do that.
Not join, but you know what I'm saying.
If Spelman had true athletics, then it could be a conversation. You know, Spelman had a stretch where they had athletics, but I think they were like a D2 or 3 level program until they decided to go ahead and scrap athletics, and they put a whole lot more into intramurals on that campus. So that's always a big question about what do you do with Morehouse. I think Dr. Gaville had the best answer about it, but even with him explaining that sounded like a whole lot of steps that they probably ain't gonna take.
How does Morehouse do it now with the whole quote unquote Title IX? I mean, it's an all boys. I mean, all men male college. So how does that? Because you said you got to think about it with women's sports, but how do they operate now, or is it just kind of a waiver type deal or something?
I think it's a waiver type deal on the D2 level, but I know for D1 they'd have to pull some strings.
Yeah. All right. Now let me ask. Switch it over to the SWAC. I already know my two. Easy.
SWAC full.
Honestly. You add just add the 2 teams. Just add 2 teams.
Right. Oh man. 2 teams to the SWAC.
And make it a 14 team league.
Probably Talladega.
Why Ant thinks on that? The two I've always said were Tennessee State and Clark Atlanta. Tennessee State because of still the proximity to the Alabama schools and even the Mississippi schools.
Open up the Nashville market.
Huge market. Nashville's like 24 or 25 on a DMA. And then Atlanta, Clark Atlanta, one because of the Atlanta television market, but also 2, Clark Atlanta, as far as research universities, they would be one of a few that actually fit the mold for what you already have in the SWAC. Gotcha. If you want to go from the academic standpoint.
Yeah. My two, I had Tennessee State, and I would have said Tuskegee.
Yeah. I was going.
Tuskegee didn't add another market or whatever.
And see, that's why I think unfortunately you're not going to see that because they don't add another market. Technically they're still part of the Montgomery market.
That's true.
So, but no, I do think that Tuskegee would be a solid choice if things were a little bit different. But clearly you got to just sit back and just see how that's going to go. And
I was going to say Tuskegee too, but I think the Tennessee State one is obvious, but I just don't see that one happening.
Me neither. I know that there was talks, but clearly those were just talks or whatever, and there was nothing else moving. Hey, they seem to be.
We got you, Jamon. We gonna get there. We saw it.
Jamon, I got you, man. I got an answer for you coming up.
And to kind of flip back to the MEAC, I would, but we talked about this logistically speaking. Tuskegee, Morehouse, Benedict, and Hampton going back to the MEAC. Going to MEAC. The only difference with that, and then that would open up a different market for the MEAC, as far as stretching into, into Atlanta, into Alabama, restoring with, with Benedict, saying kind of the rivalry with the, South with the Carolinas, and then also whatever. But logistically speaking, that travel is going to be
from Delaware State to Alabama is rough.
Yeah. So that's kind of, but again, hypothetically speaking. But
no, it's definitely hypothetical. I mean, it could happen, but clearly, I think overall, when you really look at, like I say, if for some reason, let's say Tuskegee does get the invite to the MEAC, they need one of those Georgia schools. They need one of those Georgia schools. Like, it's literally a no-brainer. I can't see them making that jump unless they got one of those Georgia schools for proximity and travel.
Right. All right. So let's go ahead. Jamon was asking about we need playoff championship between all HBCU conferences. And he was like, hey, Mo, so he asked Mo, what you think about that? So,
all right, Jamon. So while I would love to see that, we have to follow the rules. So let me kind of just set it up. Okay, let's say you got the MEAC champ, the SWAC champ, CIAA champ, and the SIAC champ or whatever. Well, you have 2 Division II conferences, 2 Division I conferences. We already see the 2 D1 teams play each other in the Celebration Bowl. There was a time where you would see representatives from the SIAC and CIAA play in the Pioneer Bowl until that, went under. Here's the problem. You cannot collectively have all those teams play each other or play each other cross-wise, because there's an NCAA rule when it comes to the postseason that basically D1 schools cannot play D2 schools. So you can't have the SWAC champ play the SIAC champ, or the SWAC champ play the CIAA champ or whatever, have like a double Celebration Bowl thing or whatever. Well, it would be cool to see. You just can't really, do it. And the example I use from that is, if you go back to 1994, I think it was, the Liberty Bowl was really trying to get Alcorn State when they had Steve McNair. They really, really were trying to get them, and just due to the contracts and the NCAA rules, there's a reason why they could not do that in that sense. So yeah, there's no crossover between D1 and D2 on that level. So that's why a whole idea of a HBCU 4-conference champion situation kind of just has to go out the door in that. I mean, it would be great, but clearly we just can't make it happen because the NCAA board of directors, which is usually a bunch of athletic directors and presidents, they just have not approved that. And I just don't see them doing that. And I get it. I mean, think about it. The scholarship things we talked about, it's like the number one. Literally, the scholarship stuff is number one. Have I seen years where they've had SIAC teams and CIAA teams that have beat up on the teams from either MEAC or the SWAC? Absolutely, I've seen that. I mean, heck, Tuskegee owns the Turkey Day Classic record against Alabama State. So what does that tell you right there? But yeah, unfortunately, you cannot have that situation. I mean, it would be cool, but you just cannot have it until legislation for the NCAA would change that.
Let me ask this question: could we? And I know it would take the SWAC getting rid of their conference championship game for it to happen, which is not likely. But could we see the top 2 from the SWAC versus the top 2 from the MEAC? Let's just take last year, for example. You could have Jackson State versus Howard, and then North Carolina Central versus Southern, and then the winner of those 2 play in the Celebration Bowl.
Would it be Southern or would it have been FAMU? I mean, I get Southern was to run up.
They played in the conference championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would have been Southern because technically
they won the West.
Correct. So I don't know, because here's the other thing, Ant. While it does sound like a decent idea, does it become a situation where what's the word I'm trying to really say? Let's say neither one of your, how about this? Let's say neither one of your champs wins those games, and then you have the 2 runner-ups.
It's a real playoff.
I mean, since we're saying it, and I get what you're saying, Southern is, but do you go with the best 2?
You go with the 2 teams who would have played in the conference championship game.
But do you go with the best 2 teams in the conference?
I mean, what makes FAMU the second best team?
Record?
Then I mean,
they only had one. They did have one conference loss. I mean, you could go with that sense. But
I mean,
then again, I mean, you do have two divisions though. So
yeah, you got.
I get it. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Well, if that's the case, then why you don't do that for the conference championship game?
If you go divisionless, you will.
But you're not divisionless.
They're talking about it. Aren't they talking about it?
They talked about it in the past. I don't know if it's going to push through, but they did talk about it in the past. I mean, hell, the SEC is going divisionless. That's going to be very interesting.
SIAC has gone divisionless as well.
They have too. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much where a lot of people are going. So that's
now if you go divisionless, yeah, then you take the two best. But as of now, you take the two teams who won their division.
Okay.
Correct. You take two teams who won the division, and you want the runner-ups. So
I think the reason why the conferences wouldn't agree to that is because what happens whenever you have a team like, let's just say, two teams from the MEAC playing in the Celebration Bowl. What happens to the SWAC's cut?
Yeah.
I don't even think it has to get that far. What happens when you have because somebody just said a 4 to 18. Jamon just said he can see it's happening between the MEAC and SWAC a 4 or 18 playoffs.
I don't see 18. That's too many.
Yeah, I don't see 8 teams either, man.
And the reason why even with that, if you look at it, even if you because of the schedule that the MEAC plays, and they play a lot more out of conference.
They do.
You may end up with the automatic bid, the automatic bid for being the MEAC champion, but then because they play, so many out of conference, and the record may not reflect, Howard was what 6-5 and was
but
co-champ.
I mean, yeah.
So now you got a 6-5 Howard versus,
What was South Carolina State the year they won the national championship?
I know exactly.
But my point is, it doesn't matter what their record is if they out there beating the team that they playing.
That's true. And the only reason I say and let me finish. You've got a 6-5 or 6-4 at that time MEAC school or 5-5 MEAC school, who's the co-champ. But with the 18 playoffs, now you've got 7 other SWAT schools who have better records, so they would get in, and then
that's why you just take 2 and 2.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying
you can't do 8. That's too many.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't see it happening. I think it's more likely to happen on the D2 level because you have the SIAC has a lot more teams, the CIAA, and then I think there aren't any independent schools on D2 level. HBCUs. I don't think.
But see, the problem is A&T is probably going to be trying to make the FCS playoffs, because if not, you could say take the 2 independent schools and then the conference champion from the other 2 and put them in the 14 playoff. A&T take the top 2 independents, so probably Tennessee State and A&T, and then whoever wins the MEAC, whoever wins the SWAC, and put them in the 14 playoff.
That actually is not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. And the only drawback I would have with that would be you got to hope that Tennessee State gets a winning record, or you got to hope that basically, any one of those other teams that's not in the MEAC or the SWAC, A&T, Hampton, like just having some sort of winning record or whatever. You couldn't just put them in there with a 4-7 record.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. What's up, Miss Body? She said she hit the like and wiped her feet before she came in. Oh man. I guess next, man. I don't know. This kind of just because I was thinking about if there's any, well, I guess it wouldn't matter. If there's any realignment and stuff, would that affect the whole HBCU band championship type deal?
I don't think so.
because they were already talking about how, like A&T, they're going to be doing the band, they're in it, but they don't necessarily face that many other. They only face like 3 other HBCUs and all that.
I got the way it was explained to me. The way they're gonna judge them halftime performances, it don't matter who you're going up against.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's gonna matter at all. If A&T is allowed in it right now, being there independent, I don't think it's gonna affect anything going forward.
Yeah, because I mean Tennessee State would basically be in the same boat too. So yeah, see, I mean, and look, I'm not a band, I'm not like a band aficionado or whatever and whatnot to like really say this, but clearly, if they judging based off of good performances, they'll try to do that in a sense. But clearly, it's going to be a week to week thing, and everybody's band's got to be on the A game. Yeah. But here's one thing I do have to ask though, fellas. So, do teams like Southern and Grambling kind of get like that upper hand because Bayou Classic is basically going to be the last regular season game of the year, and everybody's going to be watching that on television?
What you mean by get the upper hand?
Like, clearly, I know they're going to have judges that are going to.
Okay, yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what
basically NBC. You're going to see that majority or whatever. I mean, it's going to be the same stuff over and over from a viewership standpoint through the years. So.
I don't think so, and there is the reason why. Because they're based off my understanding, and this could be wrong, but based off my understanding of how they're doing it, they judge 3 halftime performances, and then they like average the score of those 3 or 4. Okay, so it's 4 performances, and then they judge, then they take the average of those 4. So even if Southern or Grambling did get some kind of boost from the Bayou Classic, I don't think that it'll do enough to affect their score that much to where it'll, you know what I'm saying, bump them up that much.
All right, I got you. I'm glad you mentioned that because, I mean, clearly I didn't know how many performances they actually were getting judged off of.
Yeah. And then
so Dr. Kavir, there you go. Said they're not counting the Bayou Classic and SCG because it's too late to prepare for travel for the D1 bands. Boom, there you go.
Okay, so basically by Thanksgiving week, we'll know who it is.
Yeah, the
that's
top
what Willie said. I think the score will be in before the Bayou Classic. So,
yeah,
cool.
So, Magic City gonna get in. Bayou ain't. I'm just saying.
I know that's interesting. But let's go ahead and just look at it like this. So, at least for Southern and Grambling, I mean, like Grambling's game against who are they playing? Are they playing Hampton? Yeah, I just found out that game's like on NFL Network. So. That kind of helps to the whatever equation. That's clearly, you got to think judges are going to be at the Southern versus Jackson State game for the Pete Richardson Classic. So those are some, pretty early ones that'll be in the fold. As Pooh mentioned, Magic City Classic definitely making it happen. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm pretty sure all my band heads are all my band heads for sure gonna be paying.
I ain't get a chance to ask. I ain't get a chance to ask her last week. But the judge is gonna be like incognito, like shades in a hat and a clipboard. Just
they're gonna be like they was on Drumline. You know what I mean? Acting like they on.
Somebody gonna bring in Petey Pablo. Hey Mo, Jay White said, Mo Carter, I'm gonna need you to do a segment on a new video board about to be installed at Louis Cruz Stadium.
Whenever they finish the work on it, for sure we'll be jumping on it. I mean, I had the athletic director, Dr. Bryant, on here 2 months. I say on here on my station two months ago, talking about it. But clearly, until I get the word that more is coming or whatever with it, I can just kind of just go by the wait and see approach with that. But he said it's coming, just like the new turf has come and now it's there, and it feels good. I'll tell you that, because it was pretty hot today and I was out there this morning, but kind of start walking around and those coconut husks, start making a difference for the coolness.
Yeah. Dr. Kabir Charlie said they moved from 4 to 3 contests/shows. So
that's what I thought it was 3.
Yeah. But I knew 4 had popped up. My bad, Ant. Go ahead. The judges better hide in the dark. Oh man, that is funny. That
also,
is
too,
funny.
you don't know if like they're doing it based off in person.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, they're gonna do it in person, or they're gonna like, go back and watch it on YouTube.
I have no idea. I would assume in person. I would
assume that too, but you would have to think that maybe they want to go back just to do.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be looking around. I'm gonna make a shirt say "Ban Judge." Get in the game. Ban Judge be walking around with a whistle. Oh man,
that would be funny.
Oh man, but man, back to this real life. I don't know. I it's new territory. Well, it's not new territory, but this is I think realignment we hadn't seen on this scale.
It's new because it's realignment ain't new, but what we seeing is new. We hadn't seen the conference die before.
Correct. We have not seen one go out like that from a big time level really since the Big East basically stopped, doing, sponsoring football as a whole. And then before that, you got to go back, like I said, to the Southwest Conference in the early 90s when a bunch of their teams left to create the Big 12.
Yep.
Along with Arkansas leaving to go to the SEC. And
that's when South Carolina joined the SEC as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. At first, it was supposed to be Florida State and Georgia Tech, but Florida kind of was like, hey, we don't really need Florida State, plus TV markets or whatever is not too huge for Tallahassee, TV market, even though Florida State was on fire at that point with Bobby Bowden and stuff. And then University of Georgia kind of was like, yeah, Georgia Tech's in Atlanta, but do we really need them? So when that didn't happen, the next two were South Carolina and Arkansas, two places that the SEC was not touching, and they decided to go ahead and say, come on over.
I just look back at certain decisions made, and I wonder if like those people just like if they kids curse like on Hoes. Remember the whole family was cursed about them onions. Hey, but like Tulane not going to the SEC.
Well, they were in the SEC years ago.
Oh yeah. I mean,
they left the SEC.
Leaving. Yeah. So Tulane, Tulane leaving. We mentioned this kind of last night. And y'all talked about it on Fox Show. Texas and Oklahoma, Pac-12 or Pac-10 at the time, not taking Texas and Oklahoma.
Texas and Oklahoma after A&M left. Yep.
Yeah. So,
which was crazy, guys, because a lot of that goes back to money. Because clearly, you remember all that time was around the time when the Longhorn Network, was created. Mm-hmm. Well, originally it was supposed to be the Big 12 network.
Yep.
The Big 12 network was supposed to be created before the SEC network, but people got greedy, got this, and then the Big 12 people holding the hands of Oklahoma and Texas, and then Oklahoma didn't want
Nebraska left.
Yeah, that's exactly why Nebraska left. And then Oklahoma and Texas were like, oh, we're going to go flirt with the Pac or whatever, and then they got the larger cuts, and then they still ended up leaving.
Yep. So,
yeah.
But, man, I think that's we you got any closing?
Day, bro.
Say what?
I could talk about this all day, bro.
I know, man. I know.
Oh, no, absolutely. Same here, man. Same here. So, but
go ahead, Mo.
We got time constraints for one, and then two in about, let me see, is the soccer game over with? Yeah, it was just about wrapping up. So, I got to go do the other part of my job.
Yeah, so,
sure.
You got any closing words, Mo, before we get up out of here about, realignment and anything, and then, tell the people where they can find you?
I'm gonna go ahead and just say this. Clearly, realignment news is not over with yet. We need to see what the ramifications are going to continue to be. Keep an eye out on what the money is going to look like, and also keep an eye out on how this may impact or not impact the college football playoff that will expand very, very soon. So we definitely want to keep an eye out on that. And of course, everyone, don't forget, college football season literally for 2023 begins in just a few weeks. We know we have a slew of games in week 0, including the MEAC SWAC Challenge that features Jackson State and South Carolina State. Really, really excited about seeing some real college football instead of these bunch of practices. But I will warn you, you may see some ugly football in the first couple of weeks because, hey, look, it's hot outside. So everybody can't do everything they really, really want to do right now. And sometimes it takes time to build that chemistry. But I think that we're in store for a great season on all levels, especially for HBCUs on the football front. And SWAC championship, man, I couldn't even tell you who's going to be there right now because I think there are so many teams in the West that could do it. I really think that the East is a little bit more up for grabs than what a whole lot of folks may think. That's why you play the game, and that's why you take it 1 week at a time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they say, hey, they don't shut it down. Go for 15, 20 more. I wish I could, but the way these bills set up, and if I don't go to work in the morning, y'all better.
For real. And it's not like you haven't been spending money to go on these recruiting trips recently either.
Liz, don't even get me started. I tell you what, I've learned a lot.
He's glad it's over. It makes sense now.
I'm so y'all just don't know. I'm so happy. And then I'll tell you about it after the show. I'll tell you about it. It might not be. I ain't gonna say it's not over, but it's over. It's over, but it's not over. You know how it is.
It's recruiting.
Yeah, it's just like and I had to explain. It's just like when you get when you start dating a girl. Nobody will talk to you. Then we start dating a girl, and all of a sudden you
come after you.
Yeah. I hate to explain that.
Everybody come after you because your name still isn't on the dotted line till December.
Bingo. He said donate a few days off the war.
Hey, if y'all doing all that, I need to
do a super chat. We'll make some happen. We'll make some happen. But Ant, man, what you got before we get up out here for realignment?
Oh man, I don't think we done, man. So like Mo said, grab your popcorn. Stay tuned in because that wheel still moving, and I don't think that wheel of realignment is still moving, and I don't think it's gonna come to a stop anytime soon. Let's just hope it doesn't trickle down and affect HBCUs in a negative way, which I don't really think it will. But I didn't think half the things that have happened would happen so far, so you never know with realignment, man.
Yeah,
right.
I'll say this. Although I don't think it'll affect. I do think that HBCU football as a whole is growing. We see the product getting better, and we know people are still fiending for football. USFL, XFL, people are clamoring for those leagues. So it's definitely a want for more football. So with expansion, I say expansion with realignment and people some teams going here and there. Stabilization in HBCU football may be one of the best things.
Yeah, facts.
So
like Willis said, be proactive, not reactive.
Agreed.
That's the name of the game when it comes to conference realignment. You got to move before somebody else moves on you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I know y'all. I hate to do it like this. And we ought to do like Carter. Like Carter Bryant.
If y'all drop a super chat,
we'll keep it going. But man, we'll go ahead and get up out of here, man. We'll be back on Monday with something. I don't know. We do a part 2 of this conversation. I don't know. We'll figure something out.
Might need to.
So we'll see. But like that, we out. This show was presented by betonline.ag.
Bring me my money.